You know, artificial intelligence is getting woven into just about everything we do. How do we actually teach these powerful systems the difference between right and wrong? Just imagine a self-driving car facing a crash it absolutely cannot avoid. What does it do? Does it swerve to hit one person just to save its own passengers? And it gets even more complicated. What if we have to start weighing the value of different lives? These aren't just little thought experiments anymore. They're very real engineering problems that desperately need an ethical framework. First things first. What in the world are we actually talking about when we say AI ethics? Well, at its core, it's all about aligning these incredibly complex systems with what we as people value most. So the formal definition is right here. AI ethics is the work of making sure that as these systems get more and more capable, their goals don't veer off from our own. And what's really fascinating about this is that it's not just a job for coders. It's a field where computer science, philosophy, law, you name it, they all have to come together to build AI that is fundamentally on the same page as us. And honestly, we can boil it down even further. This entire massive field really comes down to two simple goals. Make the AI as helpful as possible, and at the same time, make it as harmless as possible. It's trying to strike that delicate balance that makes this whole thing so tricky and, frankly, so incredibly important. Okay, let's jump to our first practical pillar, fairness. So, what's the goal? Well, the whole point of fairness in AI is to make sure that an algorithm's decisions aren't unfairly skewed against certain groups of people. For example, an AI system that's used for loan applications, it just shouldn't be biased based on an applicant's gender or their race or even their zip code. And this is where it gets really serious. Take the Compass algorithm. This was a tool designed to predict how likely a defendant was to reoffend, but an investigation found it was nearly twice as likely to incorrectly flag black defendants as high risk compared to white defendants. This is a perfect and pretty stark example of algorithmic unfairness with just profound human consequences. So if we find out a system is unfair, like that Compass algorithm, it leads to a really crucial question. Who is responsible? And that brings us to our next pillars, accountability and transparency. These are all about building trust and making sure we can understand and take responsibility for what our AI systems are doing. Now, these two terms get thrown around together all the time, but they actually mean very different things. Transparency, over on the left, is all about opening up that black box. It's about our ability to understand how an AI made a certain decision. Accountability, on the other hand, is about what happens when that decision affects people. It answers the question, who's on the hook when it goes wrong? Is it the developer, the person who used it, the company that sold it? We have to have clear lines of accountability. And this is a perfect illustration of why transparency is so key. Without it, we can't check for bias, we can't fix errors, and there's no way we can build public trust. Just think about a doctor using an AI to help diagnose a patient. They have to have some idea of why the AI came to its conclusion so they can trust it and verify the recommendation. Okay, so we've got our practical pillars down. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at the deep philosophical theories that help us think through why we even care about things like fairness in the first place. First up, you've got utilitarianism. This is all about the outcome. It says the best choice is the one that creates the most good for the most people. For an AI developer, that means aiming for the best possible result for society as a whole. Remember that self-driving car? A purely utilitarian AI would just do the math and pick whatever action saves the most lives, period. Next up is deontology, and this one is all about rules and duties, not outcomes. A deontologist would say that an AI should never, ever violate user privacy. It doesn't matter if that data could be used to create a better product for everyone else. The act of taking it without consent breaks a fundamental rule, and that makes it wrong. And finally, we have virtue ethics. This lens looks at the creators themselves. It asks, what kind of company do we want to be? So instead of just following a rule book, this is about baking virtues like integrity and empathy right into the culture of an organization. It's about hiring people who actually care about the societal impact so that building ethical AI becomes second nature, not just a box you have to check. Let's bring it back to the real world and talk about what's actually at stake here. The risks here are huge. We've already seen how biased AI can make systemic inequality even worse. And if we start deploying systems we can't understand or hold accountable, it could completely destroy public trust in our institutions. So how do we actually manage these risks? Well, it takes a multi-layered approach. It has to start with broad government regulations. Then, within those rules, the AI labs themselves need to create their own internal safety structures. To keep everyone honest, you have independent third-party auditors who come in and verify their claims. And finally, inside those organizations, you have ethics boards that review projects before they ever get released. Ultimately, the AI systems we build are going to be a mirror. They're going to reflect the choices we're making right now. They'll embody the priorities we set and the biases we either decide to confront or to ignore. And this isn't just a question for computer scientists and philosophers, it's a question for all of us. Which values are we going to choose to embed in the intelligence of our future?